During his time at Bayern Munich, Pep Guardiola revolutionized both club and German football with his innovative possession-based style of play. From 2013 to 2016, Guardiola's Bayern dominated the domestic scene, winning 3 consecutive Bundesliga titles, 2 DFB Pokal trophies, and asserting themselves as one of Europe's top teams, blending technical precision with relentless intensity. Here is how you can recreate Guardiola's Bayern Munich tactics in FC 25. During his time in Germany, Pep Guardiola opted for a 4-1-4-1 system and shape for Bayern Munich. And along with that structure, when in possession of the ball, you would see them morph into a 2-3-2-3 system and structure. Pep Guardiola wanted his two fullbacks to invert into the midfield zones, allowing for the likes of David Alaba as well as Philipp Lahm, two technically gifted fullbacks, to pair up alongside the likes of Xabi Alonso at the base of the midfield. This allowed for Pep's team to maintain a lot of dominance and central control over the opposition, allowing them to create extra passing options in those central zones. And when Pep's side were up against it, specifically in the Champions League, he would often deploy them in a 4-5-1 system and shape, and you would see them interchange between the 4-1-4-1 as well as the 4-5-1. This meant that the two wingers were forced to track back and help supply defensive stability in those wider zones, helping assist the likes of Lahm and Alaba in the flank regions. What you would also see with the shape implemented was a 4-1-3-2 system, allowing for one of the wingers to pair up with Lewandowski higher up the field, looking to press and probe the opposition, or potentially the likes of Thomas Müller would look to join up with the striker, creating a very aggressive counter-pressing team. The 4-1-4-1 team tactics will consist of a build-up style set to short passing. This will allow Bayern Munich to initiate their attacking outlets from those deeper zones, having the likes of Manuel Neuer get on the ball and look to distribute it further forward, either into the possession of one of the centre-backs or potentially one of the deeper lying midfield players. Pep's side would often look to invite the opposition's press onto them before being able to swiftly play through them and move the ball high up the field, exposing and exploiting the opposition before putting the ball in the back of the net. Now, a lot of the central dominance was initiated through the two inverted fullbacks looking to join up with the defensive midfielder. This allowed for extra passing options to be received in that first phase of the build-up play before distributing the ball into the forward line, and having likes of Lewandowski, Ribery and Robben look to essentially exploit and expose the opposition in that attacking third. As for the defensive approach, it should be set to aggressive, with the line heights being left on 95, as Guardiola's side would look to aggressively assert themselves higher up the pitch, often looking to break down any potential offensive build-up play that the opposition were trying to establish when playing out from the back themselves. Now, Guardiola's side were also well known for being able to set midfield pressing traps, allowing them to invite the ball into those central zones before pouncing on the opposition player who had possession of the ball, surrounding him, making sure he didn't have many passing options, and causing a quick mistake that could lead to a quick transition attack. A key fundamental aspect to the success that Pep Guardiola brought to the German club was the ability for Bayern Munich to consistently be in control of the opposition, always being one step ahead of what the opposition were trying to launch against Bayern Munich. So when in possession of the ball, they would always look to try and rotate the play, not looking to force too many options, and they always knew that there would be a mistake made in the opposition's backline regions that would lead to a potential breakthrough for a goal. Progressing on to the individual player roles, and we'll start off at the front with the striker in Robert Lewandowski, who will have the role of advanced forward with the focus being set to attack. This meant that Robert Lewandowski was the focal point in the attack, often looking to be the player in the box, ready and waiting for a potential cross or a cutback created from those wider zones. You would often see the likes of Lewandowski being able to make those advanced runs in behind the opposition, making sure that they were pressed slightly higher up the field, and this in turn would create a lot of central space for your midfield three. Of course, along with all of that, Lewandowski had also shown that he was quite capable of being able to drop deep and drop off the back line and link the play between the midfield and of course the wingers very effectively. This in turn created a lot of defensive issues for the opposition's back line, as they were not sure whether to stick with the likes of Lewandowski and follow him into the midfield zones, or potentially to maintain their backline structure. Now, if they were able to follow the likes of Lewandowski into the midfield zones, this in turn would open up a lot of central space for the likes of Robben or Ribery to go ahead and exploit with their pace in those central zones. And if they were able to maintain their backline structure, you would have the likes of Lewandowski being able to receive passes in between the lines and really look to link the play with the other players in and around him. The two wingers were the likes of Arjen Robben on the right-hand side and of course Frank Ribery on the left. Now, for both of them, they will have the role of winger with the focus being set to attack. Guardiola wanted his two wingers being able to hug the touchlines and penetrate the opposition's backline regions from those slightly wider spaces, often looking to attack from the angle. This meant that it would create a lot of 1v1 situations with the winger and the fullback, and in turn, this meant that there was a lot of space for the likes of your inverted fullbacks as well as your midfielders to rotate into, whether it was creating extra passing options in and around those half space zones, or potentially just looking to draw the opposition out of their natural defensive structure before exposing and exploiting them. The likes of Thomas Muller would have the role of playmaker with the focus being set to attack. Quite often you would see the likes of Thomas Muller operating between the lines or in the half spaces, but you would also see him looking to play in and around the same zones as the striker. The likes of Guardiola did demand that Muller was in and around the attacking zones as much as possible, allowing him to also be a target man for those potential crosses or cutback opportunities. Whereas the likes of Thiago Alcantara deployed as the left central midfielder, he'd be set to the role of playmaker with the focus being set to roaming. Pep allowed for the likes of Thiago to have a lot more freedom in the attack, as you would see a lot more rotations occur down the left-hand channel, whether it was with Ribery combining with Alaba down at the left-hand flank, allowing for the likes of Thiago to drop quite deep at times and fill the space that Alaba had left whilst getting forward, or potentially allowing for the likes of Thiago to be an attacking force on the edge of the box, linking up the play or potentially creating a shot opportunity for himself. You would often see the likes of Thiago collecting the ball in those deeper zones before playing those line-breaking passes further forward, and essentially allowing for Bayern Munich to be able to successfully play through the aggressive press implemented by the opposition. And then moving on to the number 6. During this time, it was Xabi Alonso, and he would have the role of holding with the focus being set to defend. Alonso's natural positioning was very reminiscent of Sergio Busquets during Pep Guardiola's time at Barcelona. He wouldn't look to do too much and drift into those wider zones, looking to break up the play and make sure that the backline was successfully protected. Guardiola demanded that the number 6 would maintain the central presence in the midfield zones, often looking to pop up in between the two centre-backs, collecting the ball in those deeper zones before playing passes into the rest of the midfielders, and looking to help initiate the tempo for this Bayern Munich side. A key attribute that Xabi Alonso was consistently used for with this Bayern Munich side was his ability to pick out the switch passes, collecting the ball whilst creating successful overloads down the one flank before switching the play to the opposite flank, who would have less defensive presence and more attacking space to exploit. Now progressing on to the two fullbacks. Now both the likes of David Alaba as well as Philipp Lahm would be deployed as false backs with the focus being set to balanced. This would see the two fullbacks look to invert into the midfield zones and sit alongside Xabi Alonso. And Pep Guardiola did demand this, as the likes of David Alaba as well as Philipp Lahm were two technically gifted players, and they were also capable of collecting the ball in those midfield areas whilst also being able to distribute it further forward, adding to the multitude of passing options that Bayern Munich had in those central zones. Of course, both of these players were capable of being able to defend in the wider zones, looking to successfully break up any potential attacking play generated from the wider flanks of the field. Now you would see the likes of Alaba as well as Philipp Lahm looking to overlap the wingers every now and then if they were trying to create those wider overloads. Now it was more so the likes of Alaba who would look to overlap the likes of Frank Ribery, allowing for the left winger to enter the half space zones and attack those areas of the field before the likes of Alaba would whip in a cross or a cutback opportunity into the box for one of the attackers. So when the likes of Bayern Munich were looking to build their attacks from the back, the two centre-backs would often look to outnumber the one striker, but if the likes of Guardiola's side came up against a dual striker presence, he would allow for either Alaba or Lahm, and it was also mainly Alaba who would do this, to be able to sit further back and almost join up as a third centre-back. So in order to successfully do that, all you would have to do is just convert the left back into full back with the focus being set to defend, and this will allow for an extra passing option to occur in those deeper spaces when you are looking to build your attacks from those backline regions. This in turn will successfully allow Bayern Munich to build their attacks with a 3-back system, but also look to defend with a 3-man defensive unit. So into the central zones, and your two centre-backs in Dante as well as Jerome Boateng would be set to the role of ball-playing defender with the focus being set to build-up. Of course, both of these players were very competent at being able to defend against the aggressive transitions, but also being able to collect the ball in those deeper zones before playing line-breaking passes into the midfield, or potentially looking to play those longer passes into the on-running wingers. And then finally, the likes of Manuel Neuer will be set to the role of sweeper keeper with the focus being set to balanced. He is the prototypical sweeper keeper mold for what football is today, and quite often you would see him outside of his box looking to be very adventurous, also looking to contribute to the attacking build-up play slightly higher up the field, often being an extra passing option for the defenders to use in order to try and draw the opposition onto the goalkeeper before playing a line-breaking pass or a potential long ball pass over the top and looking to create a quick transition attack. Manuel Neuer in this role would be very capable of being able to step off of his line, look to sweep up just in behind the back line so that they could play a nice, aggressive and assertive high line, whilst also providing a blanket of security when protecting the goal. So as you'll see here, that when Bayern Munich were in possession of the ball, they would often look to formulate a 2-3-2-3 system and shape, allowing for Manuel Neuer to frequently combine with the two centre-backs in, of course, Dante and Jerome Boateng. But the main act was the two inverted fullbacks looking to sit alongside the defensive midfielder, often being extra passing options, but also looking to help initiate the build-up in that first phase of the play. Of course, you had your two attacking midfielders who would look to roam in and around those attacking zones, often looking to be rotational pieces on the edge of the box, or potentially looking to get on the end of those crosses or cutback opportunities themselves, while also being a catalyst in the attacking outlets. And then you would also see that the two wingers would look to hug the touchlines, looking to attack from those wider zones, drawing the opposition out whilst generating a lot of central space for the likes of the striker in Robert Lewandowski, who is also allowed to drift every now and then. You would see him slightly drifting into the half spaces, looking to collect the ball and then link up the play very successfully with a Thomas Muller or maybe even a Thiago Alcantara. But you would see him utilize his playmaker abilities whilst also at times being the focus for the attacking outlets. The 4-5-1 team tactics will consist of a build-up style set to short passing, but the main change that we do see between these two systems is the defensive approach. Now it will be set to balance, with the line height being set to 50. You would see the likes of Guardiola deploy his side in this shape and structure when up against the European elites. This meant that he would deploy a mid-block approach with pressing traps and triggers in the central areas of the field before looking to win the ball back and quickly launch those longer passes in behind for your wingers or potentially the likes of Lewandowski to latch onto and create quick transition attacking moments. Now, there will be several role changes that do occur in the system, starting off with the striker up front in Robert Lewandowski, who would have the role of false nine with the focus being set to build up play. At times, there wouldn't be as much possession, and you would require the striker to be able to drop off the opposition's backline, collect the ball in those deeper zones, and also help facilitate the offensive rotations that would occur for the Bayern Munich side. With this mid-block approach implemented, Pep Guardiola did demand that both the likes of Ribéry as well as Robben would track back and help defend the wider flanks against the opposition's attack. So therefore, both of your wingers will be set to the role of wide midfielder, with the focus being set to defend, often having them track back sufficiently, looking to pick up the extra runners in those wider zones and defend against the potential killer crosses. The left and the right central midfielders will have the role of box-to-box and the focus being set to balanced. This would see the likes of Thiago Alcantara as well as Thomas Muller being able to drop quite deep at times, help soak up the aggressive attacking pressure implemented by the opposition before looking to win the ball back with either a pressing trigger or just a ball recovery, and then looking to launch a quick transition further forward. You would mainly see the likes of Muller being able to break forward and combine frequently in those attacking zones with the likes of Lewandowski higher up the pitch, but every now and then you would also see the likes of Thiago being able to collect the ball in those more attacking areas of the field and really look to initiate an attacking sequence. So your left and your right back will be set to the role of fullback, with the focus being set to balance. So if the opportunities are there and they do present themselves, they can look to burst down the wider flanks, looking to add to the attacking outlets down the wider zones. But you would see them acting as natural fullbacks, looking to operate in those left and right spaces, defending against the potential crosses that are fired into the box, and not really looking to invert into the central areas. Now, as for the two centre backs, they would still be set to the role of ball-playing defender, but the focus now has changed to defend, allowing them to be very good box defenders, looking to get on the end of those crosses that are fired into the box or the potential cutback opportunities that are created from those wider zones, looking to defend against them and break up any potential attacking play implemented by the opposition. So just taking a look at the team structure when in possession of the ball, and it is a very functional structure. Pep Guardiola didn't want to be too adventurous with it, having players invert into the central areas and exposing and exploiting other potential areas in the wider channels. So that is why you will see a more or less static structure, not allowing for players to have the freedom to adventure all over the field. You would still see the likes of your striker being able to drop off the opposition's backline and operate in those half spaces and of course in between the lines, looking to collect the ball and help really initiate the attacking play, alongside your two box-to-box players who would be up and down and sometimes even into the wider channels at times. And then of course your two wider midfielders, yes, they will be able to attack and get forward if the opportunities are there, but their main concern is looking to help cover the space just in behind them, alongside your two fullbacks who will mainly be able to defend those wider channels. And there we go, my dudes. That is how I would successfully go ahead and replicate and recreate Pep Guardiola's Bayern Munich tactics for FC25. I do hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you don't mind smashing that like button down below whilst also subscribing, that would mean the absolute most to me. We are in the road to 15,000 subs, so if you are not subscribed, please do consider that. Whilst also consider joining up with the Brom Squad Gaming Discord server. The link for that will be down below in the description. So if you are interested in real life football chats and FC25 conversations and all that good stuff, please do consider joining up with the Brom Squad Gaming Discord server. Anyways, I hope you have a smashing goddamn day, and I'm out of here. Peace.